Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I have the pugs in here today. They're feeling a little bit clingy because we were out of town for about a week. They're not always around when I'm filming. So if you hear any pugs snoring or pugs playing with toys, that's what's going on. I have two of them. They're a little bit older, so they typically just sleep a lot during the day. So you'll probably hear some pug snores. But I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for watching. Today is my first video filming in about like a week and a half. And I really wanted to do a declutter video because we got back from vacation. And as I was putting my makeup products away, I just kind of refreshed my collection and decluttered it as I was going. I do a big declutter series every spring on my channel where I go through and declutter each category, like all of my blushes, all of my eyeshadow palettes. But then every few months after that, I still like to go through and declutter and remove any products I'm no longer using or no longer enjoy. I've been testing out and reviewing a lot of makeup lately, a lot of drugstore products especially, and I've discovered so many products I love. So they've actually replaced a lot of the other products in my collection. And then of course there are products that didn't work for me and some that I just no longer reach for. If I haven't touched them since my declutter series in the spring, it's time to part with them. So before I get rid of them and pass them along to friends and family, so hopefully someone else can enjoy them, I wanted to share the reason why I'm removing them from my collection. If you like declutter videos, I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my declutters throughout the years. I'll link it in the description box below if you guys want to check it out, but let's jump into it. Okay, I want to start with this product because this is something I actually love. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my July favorites because I've been using it a lot, and I was really pleasantly surprised by it because the first time I tried it, I wasn't really sold on it, and then I started using it more and more, and I noticed a difference. So this is the Essence Fix and Last Makeup Gripping Jelly Primer. I love the way that this applies to the skin. I've tried a lot of gripping primers, and what's nice about this one is that it's not as sticky as a lot of other gripping primers, but it still locks your makeup into place really well, while also being very hydrating, really refreshing on the skin. So you might be asking, if I seem to love this product so much, why am I decluttering it? Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this product breaks my skin out, and I have noticed that that does happen more often with gripping primers compared to mattifying primers or moisturizing primers. I don't know if there is a specific ingredient in a lot of gripping primers that just doesn't work well with my skin, but there are gripping primers that don't cause me to break out, like the e.l.f. gripping primer, even the e.l.f. Jelly Pot primer. Those work well for me, and I don't experience any skin issues. I'm so disappointed because I really thought this would be a go-to product during the fall, the winter. It feels so good on the skin, and it really does extend the wear of my foundation. But because it causes breakouts, I just can't use it as much as I would like to. I haven't had this for very long. I've enjoyed it while I've had it, but I'm going to pass it along to my mom or my sister because they don't really have breakout prone skin like I do, so hopefully they can get this to work for them, and it really is such a good primer. So I still recommend it unless you have very sensitive or acne prone skin. I'm also decluttering this primer from Essence. This is a newer product to my collection. I haven't had it for very long at all, so again, I'm going to pass this along to my mom or my sister to see if they enjoy it. This is the Skin Lemon Sensitive Primer. I actually really like this formula. I think it does a good job. It's definitely a great option if you are just looking for something really easy to wear under any foundation. I'm definitely a primer fan. I know there are some people who think primer doesn't do anything. That is not me. I love using a primer every single time I do my makeup, but I usually want it to be either really hydrating or really mattifying, which I know is the opposite. It just kind of depends on what I'm going for, or really gripping. This one is kind of like a lotion-like texture, so it lightly moisturizes the skin. It creates a smooth base, but it's not a standout primer. I reviewed this in a recent big drugstore speed review style video. It's a good option, but I just don't think it's a standout product. I can't really see myself reaching for this over a lot of my go-to primers. So for that reason, I don't want it to just sit in my collection and go to waste. I'd rather give this a new home and hopefully someone else can enjoy it because it is a nice option. It's just not a standout product that I feel like I need to keep in my collection. I don't know how I feel about this shirt. I just got it from Express. It kind of has like this fabric underneath that causes it to puff out, but this side doesn't do as much. So I feel like this side is like really high and this side's a little bit more subtle. So I don't know. This keeps distracting me. The last primer I'm decluttering is something that I'll kind of use as like a primer, but also a mix-in. And it's funny because I mean, I do like this product, and that's the thing when it comes to decluttering. A lot of the time I'll declutter products that I like, but they're not necessarily absolute staples for me. And if that's the case, I do like to declutter them and pass them along to someone else because I know if it's not something I'm using a lot or it's just not one of my top favorites, it will probably just end up sitting in my collection until I do my next big declutter. And I'd rather someone else be able to get a lot of use out of it. So that's why I try to do these declutters a couple of times a year. But this is from e.l.f. It is their Illuminating Elixir Priming Serum. I think this is a really nice option, especially if you like a good glowy base. You can use it to prime your skin. You can mix it in with skincare or also foundation. But e.l.f. just released their Halo Glow Liquid Illuminator, and I like that a little bit better. First of all, I like the packaging of the Halo Glow better because that one has a really large doe foot. So I just find that it's really easy to apply to the skin or even just to put some on the back of your hand to mix in with the product. This one has a dropper, and the dropper works well enough, but sometimes products with droppers can be a little bit messy as you put them back in, and I personally just prefer the actual doe foot applicator the Halo Glow comes with. I do think the formulas are kind of similar. I would say this one is maybe just a little bit thinner, so it is a nice option, but this only comes in one shade, and the Halo Glow has, I want to say like, I can't remember off the top of my head, like 8 or 9 shades. Because of that, I find that it is a little bit more customizable. I have 2 different shades, so depending on what type of look I'm going for, I'll reach for that. And one of the shades is pretty close to this. So I just don't find myself reaching for this as much since I got that, and I don't imagine I'll use this a whole lot in the future now that I have the Halo Glow because they are similar, but I like that one just a little bit better. So because of that, I thought I would pass this product along. I love the packaging. I think the actual product is great, so someone else will hopefully be able to get a lot of use out of it. I have 2 different Flower Beauty products I'm going to be decluttering up from my collection. The first one is this Lift and Sculpt Contouring Palette. So this comes with a bronzer, a blush, and a highlighter. It is a nice option if you like kind of like a 3-in-1 palette, but I have different Flower Beauty products in all 3 of these categories I use all the time. I love their Heatwave Luminous Bronzer. I also really like those Flower Pots blushes. I think that's what they're called, like the blushes that are shaped like flowers. And then I do also have their highlighter palette, which comes with 3 highlighters that I use all the time. My monitor cut out and I went to plug it back in, and then the pugs thought something was happening, so I just completely lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? I think I was saying because I have individual Flower Beauty products in all of these categories, like bronzer, blush, and highlight, I'd rather reach for them individually with shades that I love to use rather than this one. The shades are fine, they work well for me, but I just find that the powders are a little bit, they're very light, they're extra powdery, which is fine, but I don't know, I just prefer the actual single Flower Beauty products over this one. So that is why I'm going to be decluttering this from my collection. I just don't find myself using it very often. The Flower Beauty Stellar Prismatic Highlighter is such an interesting product. So I have the shade Solstice. I know this comes in a few different shades. I love to look at it. I think it made it through my last highlighter declutter just because it is so unique. I don't have anything like this in my collection, and while it looks a little bit intimidating in the pan, it does kind of melt into the skin in a pretty way where it doesn't necessarily look as foiled or metallic. But I don't think it's quite as smooth as some of my other powder highlighters that I typically reach for. And I don't know, when I look at this for like day-to-day wear, I'm typically just a little bit intimidated by it. It also looks pretty on the eyes if you just kind of tap it over your final eye look, and it gives you a little bit more of a foiled effect. But I do think I have ColourPop Super Shock shadows that kind of create something similar on the eyes. So I just don't find myself reaching for this. I don't think I've used it once since I did my highlighter declutter, which for me is typically a sign that it is time to let something go. I don't have a ton of highlighters in my collection, and if I can't rotate through all of them by like the end of a month or every 2 months, then I just know it's something that I don't necessarily need to keep. So that's why I'm decluttering this. This product just didn't work for me, which is why I'm decluttering it. I don't even know that I'll pass it along to someone else. I mean, maybe I'll give it to my mom and see if she wants to try it out, but I just wouldn't even recommend spending your money on this. It's the Essence Lash Princess Eyeliner, and it's the waterproof version. I don't love any of the 3 they launched. They have just like a regular black one, a brown one, and then a waterproof one. The black one and the brown one stay in place better than the waterproof one, but the waterproof one is so bad. The second I place it on my eyelid, it starts to spread and move around. It's not smudge proof, not waterproof at all. It's not even long wearing. I honestly don't know how this formula got approved because I do feel like it is such a bad formula. So it was only a few dollars. It's not the end of the world. I decided to keep the original one and the brown one because I feel like they're at least usable, and I love the color of the brown liner. I feel like a lot of brown liners almost end up looking kind of like a light black or a charcoal, but the brown liner is a true brown liner. So I can at least use both of those. I don't love the actual applicator, but when it comes down to it, I just feel like this waterproof formula is completely unusable. It doesn't make sense to me, which is why I'm decluttering it. So I got a set of mini mascaras a few months ago. I picked up a Sephora favorite set, and I actually had really good luck with that set because I feel like a lot of them ended up working out for me. I redeemed my voucher for one and then I ended up just buying another one. Also, mini mascaras kind of last a long time. Like I'm still working on one or two of them. So it's been nice to have, but I did get the Milk Makeup Kush mascara in the kit. I've tried this in the past and it didn't work out for me. When I originally tried it, it really irritated my eyes. They were red and itchy. And, you know, part of me was like, I'm not going to try it again just in case that happens. But I got kind of curious about it because I have heard people raving about this throughout the year. So I decided to give it another shot. It didn't irritate my eyes, which was good to know, but I just found that the formula itself was still very, very underwhelming. I don't know if it's the really big brush or just the actual formula. Whatever the case, it just didn't do anything for my lashes at all. They didn't look thick or voluminous or long or dramatic. They looked really, really underwhelming. And usually I am a fan of more of a dramatic formula. So I'm glad I got the chance to try it again. It just confirmed my original thoughts. It doesn't work for me, which is totally fine. There are so many mascaras out there. Honestly, I feel like mascara is like the one product where I hear so many conflicting reviews. When it comes down to makeup products in general, obviously things are going to work out differently for different people depending on skin type or personal preferences. But when it comes to mascara, I feel like I can read the most positive reviews about a formula and the most negative reviews about a formula, and it can be split right down the middle. But for me, this just was a fail. It doesn't work for me. I also got this product in a Sephora Favorites kit. It is the Merit, what is the official name? Shade Slick Tinted Lip Oil, and I have the shade Marrakesh. The reason why I've kept this for like the last month or two is because the actual shade is really beautiful. I love the color on the lips, but the actual formula just doesn't work for me. I feel like it wears off in like less than 5 minutes. This is just a deluxe size sample, but the full size product is $24, and I can't imagine spending that much money on something that has such a short wear time. I know that when it comes to lip oils and like these thinner, glossy products that are really comfortable, they're not necessarily going to be the most long lasting because they don't have any sort of like stickiness or tackiness, which is fine. But this is like the shortest wearing lip product that I've really ever tried. So as beautiful as it is on the lips, as nice as it initially feels, I just expect my lip products to last a little longer. I can't really justify paying full price for something like that. And you know, I just feel like I don't need this mini product in my collection anymore because every time I wear it, it wears off so quickly that I just get frustrated. So I'm going to declutter it. I also decided to declutter these About Face lip glosses. So I did declutter a couple of shades when I did my lip gloss declutter. I've been loving lip gloss so much this year that I feel like I've actually been able to rotate through my collection quite a bit. And because of that, I've really discovered older formulas I love and then also some new formulas I love. And I just don't reach for these anymore because they almost have a similar texture to the Merit lip oil in that they're very, very thin, really glossy, but they're not long wearing, which again is fine. I feel like so many brands these days are releasing almost like a lip oil, lip gloss hybrid, so you don't necessarily get the longevity of a lip gloss that is a little bit stickier or thicker or almost tacky. And I don't know, there are certain trade-offs. Like I love a really comfortable, non-sticky lip glosses, but I also like something that stays in place a little bit longer than just a few minutes. And I think these are beautiful, but they definitely dry down, or not dry down, but like wear away, and my lips almost feel dry after just a few minutes. So I don't know, the colors are really pretty, which is why I would end up wearing them a lot and just pairing them with a lipstick and just reapplying them when needed. But at this point, because I've tried so many lip gloss formulas and just glossy lip products in general this year, I don't find myself using these very often, and the colors are beautiful. I know my mom will love these shades, and she might end up liking the formula more than me. I feel like I give my mom a lot of my decluttered products because if they don't work for me, she sometimes has like slightly different preferences, and I think they'll end up working for her. I actually did a video recently on makeup products that I've changed my mind about, either products I used to love that I no longer enjoy, or products that I initially didn't like that I actually ended up loving. So I featured these lip glosses. I also featured this eyeshadow palette because when I got this, I really did like it. I won't say it was ever like my favorite eyeshadow palette because I was always just kind of on the fence about a few of the shades. But over the past year, I really haven't reached for it very much, and I have other palettes in my collection that have a similar color story that I like better. In fact, I'm wearing the Natasha Denona Retro palette on my eyes today, and while it's not the exact same, I feel like I can get a similar look out of it. So this is the Mel Cosmetics She's in Parties palette. I love a good purple toned palette. I love pink eyeshadow, purple eyeshadow, even after all these years, but I just feel like this is missing some really intense, vibrant shimmers. I always prefer that a palette has really gorgeous shimmers over matte shadows because I don't know, I feel like matte shadows across the board are, I don't want to say similar, but I feel like a lot of brands do matte shadows well, whereas like a really intense, vibrant shimmer is not rare, but a little bit harder to find. And Melt does vibrant shimmers so well, but the shimmers in here are a little bit softer, they're more subtle, and then there are matte shadows and then almost satin shadows. And I don't know, whenever I use this palette, I feel like I'm wanting something more, or I'll end up reaching for like a ColourPop Super Shock shadow or a different palette to kind of complete the look. And because of that, I just feel like it's time to part with this. It made it through my eyeshadow palette declutter, but I haven't used it since then. And even before that, I don't know the last time I did use it. So I feel like this might be more suited toward people who don't necessarily need those really over-the-top sparkly shimmers in their palettes, which again, I think my mom might enjoy this one. So I'm sure she'll love the color story. She also likes pinks and purples as well. So earlier this year, I tried the e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation, and honestly, since using that, I don't think I've really used another powder foundation regularly. I've kind of revisited all of the other powder foundations I have in my collection to see how they compare to that one, but that one is like my absolute favorite. It's so creamy, smooth, it has really good coverage, it just looks good on the skin. So because of that, I'm actually going to declutter two different powder foundation formulas that I was using this one quite a bit. This one is the Fenty Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation. I actually have two shades. I have 150 and then also 180. I was really enjoying this one mainly throughout the winter time, and I still use it on occasion, but whenever I use it, I just wish that I used the e.l.f. Powder Foundation. This one doesn't have quite as much coverage as the e.l.f. Powder Foundation. It's a little bit more natural on the skin, and I think this is a nice powder for touch-ups throughout the day. But I don't know, there's something about it that just doesn't look great on my skin anymore. I don't want to say that it looks dry, but if I'm dealing with like a breakout or a lot of texture, I feel like it enhances those areas, whereas the e.l.f. Powder Foundation just kind of glides over them. So I just don't really love the way my skin looks when I use this product anymore. So it's something I used to love, just something I don't reach for any longer, so that's why I'm decluttering it. I'm also decluttering the Pur 4-in-1 Pressed Mineral Makeup. This is their powder foundation. So I have the shade LG6. I love the liquid version of this foundation, and I used to use the powder version a few years ago, which is why I ended up repurchasing it. I was at Ulta one day and I just decided to pick it up on a whim. But I don't know, I don't like the way this looks on my skin anymore. It has like a very powdery look, almost a little bit of a dry look. I've used it a lot of different ways. I've used it with a sponge, which is how I prefer to use it. I've also used it with a buffing foundation brush, and I know a lot of people love this. Last time I talked about this, you guys left some different suggestions on how I could use it, but in the end, I just don't end up loving it on my skin more than I do the e.l.f. powder foundation. So that's kind of my standard these days for powder foundation, and if it doesn't look as good or I don't like how it looks compared to that one, I'd rather just pass it along and continue to use the one from e.l.f. I did keep the J.Cat Beauty Powder Foundation and then also the Urban Decay Stay Naked The Fix Powder Foundation. So those are the ones I still reach for. They're not quite as good as e.l.f. in my mind, but they're still nice options, and these were just kind of at the bottom of my list lately. This is the e.l.f. Daily Dew Stick. I purchased this, oh, when was it? Like back in January. And what's interesting about this is that it looks so pretty when you swatch it. Like, look at that swatch on the back of my hand. It's gorgeous, and that's kind of tempting me to keep it. But whenever I use it on my face, it doesn't look that good on my face. First of all, I always use this when I'm wearing makeup, and some people suggested using it without makeup, which does look really pretty. If you're a fan of like no base makeup and you just want like a glowy, moisturizing, almost skincare makeup hybrid, this would actually be really pretty. But I'm typically an all or nothing fan. Like, I'll just skip makeup completely and not wear any makeup and just wear sunscreen, or I'll go in and take the time to do my makeup. Although I've kind of perfected like a 10-minute makeup routine, which I do want to do a video on that soon. But I don't typically take the time to apply like one product just to give it glow. So because of that, I'm likely not going to use this on my bare skin, and it just doesn't work well on top of foundation. It's such a moisturizing, almost like balm type product that when I apply it on top of foundation, it just erases my foundation underneath. It doesn't even look like a little bit patchy, it just completely removes it because it has such like a wet type of texture, which again is really pretty when you swatch it on bare skin. So if you're going to be using this on bare skin, I think you'll actually love it. But if you typically don't do that, I wouldn't recommend picking it up because it just doesn't work as an actual highlighter on top of base makeup in my experience. Also, e.l.f. just released their Halo Glow liquid filter, and that's a really gorgeous illuminator, either mixed in on its own or on top of makeup, so I feel like that's kind of taken this spot. I recently tried this product from Makeup Revolution. It's the Retinol Rescue Primer. It's supposed to smooth your skin and help minimize the appearance of pores, which I feel like it does. When I use this product, my skin definitely looks smooth. It looks a little bit mattified, but if I have any really large pores, especially around my nose, it just kind of glides over those and gives my skin almost like a filtered effect. And it's really, really pretty. But again, under makeup, it doesn't wear well. So if this is something you're going to use on its own, it does give your skin a really beautiful finish. But when I wear foundation on top, my foundation moves around, it doesn't completely dry down, and it breaks apart really, really quickly. So that's why this product just didn't work for me and why I decided to declutter it. But I think it could work for you if you have dry skin or you're not really concerned with your foundation like staying in place. I think because I have oily skin and this product kind of causes foundation to move around on top of that, it's really not ideal for me. But again, dry skin people might enjoy this. The last product I'm decluttering is so pretty, but I just don't use it. It's the Milani Flora Tinted Lip Balm, and I love this color. I think it is so, so pretty, but in my mind, I'm someone who wears really bright, colorful lip products, and in reality, I just typically don't. Like, this is the most dramatic lip product I've used in months, and during the fall and the winter, I'll usually reach for like a deep, vampy lip, but I don't wear really bright lip colors like pinks and reds as often these days. I need to kind of break them back out, but I've just been enjoying like a more subtle lip product for a while, for a few years at this point. So I just decided to maybe not purchase very many of those as we move forward. And this is a nice formula. It's a beautiful lip balm, but it just has a little bit too much color and a little too much pigment for me to use regularly. So that's why I'm decluttering this. Okay guys, that is everything I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you are a fan of declutter videos, I'll link some on the screen for you guys right now and in the description box below. And I will be back very soon with a new video. Bye.